Since this podcast, the Why I Help podcast, is all about good news, and there are a lot of people out there who are helping on a regular basis, but we might not be able to interview them all, we thought we would include some good news articles that happened recently. This was in January, and the headline is Seattle home bakers are donating bread loaves for families in need. And it says that there are over 140 bakers, volunteer bakers, and they're baking breads to give to the homeless and the people who are needy. And hey, in my book, that's good news. That's a good piece of news. We're going to find little tidbits like that and share them with you, because if you watch the mainstream media, you're never going to hear about these bakers. And if you're like me and you simply don't watch the news at all for obvious reasons, then you'll never hear about stories like this. So we'll keep sharing the good news with you. Now let's get on to our interview with Nick Saifan. Nick Saifan, thank you so much for being willing to be on this podcast and tell us your story.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, first of all, before you get going, yes, start with your background. Where did you grow up? What interested you in the military? I know you have military experience, and just kind of give us your life story in a nutshell.
Well, born in Brooklyn, New York, came out west in 1984 after graduating high school, and I joined the military. So thankfully, I came to a nice place in California. Southern California was my first duty station.
It doesn't get better than that.
No, I spent some time in San Diego, and then I kind of followed my command. I was on board a couple of ships, the USS Ranger and USS Bellawood. They were in Bremerton, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. So I went all the way up northwest and enjoyed the weather up there too.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the beginning of my military career.
Why military? Why did you get into the military? I'm just curious. What was your motivation?
Yeah, well, I really always thought of serving in the military. I never really knew how or why. And I was in a boarding school. I went to an all-boy prep Catholic boarding school in Connecticut, St. Thomas More High School. And when I graduated, I was already accepted in Assumption College in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I was going to study pre-med and on a path to maybe becoming a doctor. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, but being an 18-year-old young kid, didn't really know, what the best direction to take. I thought joining the military would have been a lot of fun, and it was. It was a very good, nice lesson for all the years that I spent it. So I started my career in the Navy. I loved the ocean. I loved boats, and traveled so much all over the Pacific and enjoyed a lot of it. Unfortunately, in the Navy, I really was limited to what I could do, and being on board a ship, they don't really transition you much to different commands or different jobs, because they want stability. They want the ship to operate properly. So once they train you, they want you to be there for a long time. Ever since then, I really thought about how much more I could do. So the Army offered me a lot more. So I ended up having a tremendous amount of training, different jobs in the military, to leadership, and then a commission. So I became an officer and served as an infantry officer until I retired. I had a lot of other different specialties and language proficiency. So I was very, very fortunate to get all that training in the military, in the Army.
It's interesting the point you make. This is obviously not a podcast about the military, but I can understand how in the Navy, when you are on a ship, if you are trained to be, I'm just going to make this up, like the widget turner, they depend on you to turn that widget every time the ship is at sea. And if you're dreaming of being a gear maker, they're like, no, we need you to be the widget turner, because if you don't turn the widget, then the ship could go down. So I get that, So, yeah, I get that. But it's also interesting then when you go into the Army, it's a little bit of a different thing,
Yes.
and that you could get trained. So you were in a total of 24 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How old were you when you got out? And I'm going to age you a little bit, but how old were you when you got out?
I retired in 2008. So I'm 55 today.
Okay.
So that was about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
My almost mid 40s, 43, 44.
Okay. And I know that the transitioning from the military into civilian life is part of what's motivated you to do what you're doing today, which we will get to. What were some of the difficulties that you face? I mean, I would think being in your 40s and all of a sudden you have to do a big career change could have been a little bit of a challenge.
Absolutely. I have firsthand experience, serving and transitioning. And unfortunately, the last few years of my service weren't all fun of games. I was injured a few times and ended up having some physical difficulties and some mental issues. And I was fortunate enough to have the VA to help me through. I
I'm
could
sorry,
honestly
Nick, did
say
you go overseas? Were you at war?
I did. I
Oh,
deployed. Yeah, I deployed. I
okay.
was in Iraq and Southwest Asia. I served over there for quite a bit since the 90s, back and forth, but consecutively since 2000.
Is that where you were injured?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, through that time, difficult times, of course, it's not really fun and games over there. I was able to come back, and during my transition, I was able to get a lot of assistance from the VA hospital. Unfortunately, we know that when the system is large, you fall through some cracks, and some of the programs are available. They talk about them a lot, but it's difficult to kind of uh, go through the websites and find out where the information is and what forms you have to fill out, and just continuously hard on somebody that's already facing challenges.
You know, it's interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have there's an organization here that we actually help them do a fundraiser, and it's Vet to Vet Reconnect, and their whole purpose is to help veterans navigate the paperwork and the system so that they can get the help they need, whether it's medical or whatever. So we kind of know what you're talking about is absolutely true, and I'm not trying to diss the VA.
Oh
There's
no,
just
no.
a lot of people.
I can honestly say that the VA saved my life.
Ah,
Without the VA, I don't think I would be alive today. It's very dramatic, but it is true. And I want to make sure that they get all the notice that is possible. They do a lot of help. They have a lot of wonderful people in their organization. I just feel that sometimes the soldier or sailor or airman, they're overwhelmed with issues that sometimes they are not able. They need somebody a little bit more connected at a personal level or a local level. The VA is a little bit more into a larger area. So when a soldier comes from a neighboring city, because there's not a VA in every city office, they first initially start with a sponsor organization, American Legion or Veterans of Foreign Wars, and they try to get counseling and work with a service veteran officer to be able to get the benefits that they are entitled to, or some assistance to be able to move on. It's not always about money or service, but it's always about taking care of somebody, guiding them. When you
right.
spend so much time in the military and you go through some of the hardships, getting out takes a lot of getting used to, because in the military, every morning you wake up, you exercise, you eat breakfast, you work, you eat lunch, and there's a system, there's a schedule. And when you get out, none of it is available.
No more
It goes,
structure.
so you gain weight. You're ill. You don't know where to go. You're looking for a job. You're looking for a paycheck. You're looking for medical assistance. You're looking for friendship. That is one of the biggest things I think that veterans face, not having somebody to talk to every day.
You know, the military. I'm totally tracking with you because as Steve mentioned before we went on air, I was raised in a military family, and it's a family, especially like if you live on a military base. It's like its own community, and everybody has pretty much the same reality and the same agreements and the same viewpoints. And so then, boom, you're out. And
In actuality, there's something that the military does well, is that when a soldier, airman, or sailor, I'm talking about all veterans, they
right,
graduate basic training and they go to their first command. The first thing the commander does, or their supervisor, is that they assign them a soldier that's been there for a while, and they walk him through a checklist to make sure that the soldier knows where to go to eat, responsible for their pay, where do they get their clothing, who helps them out, the supply. So there is a checklist for that, but there is no checklist when you get out.
right.
And I think that's what we need.
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
So yeah.
So, sorry. So I digressed there, but so you had your own challenges, and then tell us how you got from there to where you are now, and tell us in detail what your plans are, because it's kind of cool. But tell us how you got there.
So when I came back from my last deployment, it was about first quarter of 2007. And I came back and I was trying to kind of get back on my feet to see what I'm going to be doing. And I was facing some challenges, and I started to work with the VA a little bit closer. But when all my paperwork went in, it took until 2000 and maybe 16 until I got approval.
Wow.
So when I did get the approval, it was a lot of it was backdated to 2013. But even if it's backdated and everything is fine, what do you do during that time? Like, where do you go for help? Who is going to help you out? So I think the delay in services, for me, it was very challenging, and I went back and forth, and it was tremendous. I had some help, and I ended up hiring a company that did some of my paperwork to help me out, because I just didn't understand it by myself. So I learned with them. They walked me through it. They explained things to me. I kept on submitting. They assisted me, but they weren't close to me to help me out more. So until today, I'm facing some of those challenges. Because of COVID, things also, we're facing some challenges. So it's always nice to have somebody you could actually contact to be able to walk you through some of those challenges. So I learned that you really need somebody that's knowledgeable about the system and about it. So I'm planning on having a service veteran officer, or maybe even 10 of them if it's possible, to have them on site at minimum at 5-6 days a week, long hours, just being able to process some of this transitioning that we need to do for the local veterans in each site that I open. And so you definitely need that, and you need some really nice, caring people. Yep. Working together with a lot of nonprofits could also come to play. I know a lot of great nonprofits all over the place that we could work with, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We could have them just come in, we offer them space, and they could do their work wonderfully.
Right. Now, I got to take you back. When you say on site,
yes.
What are we talking about? What's the site?
Yes. So the first site of our development, we have 14 acres in Moreno Valley, and we're hoping, our goal is to build as many units as possible. Anywhere between 400 to 600. I'm hoping for 650. That's my goal, my 100%. If I could have the 650 residential units, and it's mixed use between retail and housing, to be able to take care of the community and the residents, and also the community itself outside the residency. I want that to be my base for all the services that I offer. That's the site. So the first one, and I'm hoping for many more, maybe 7 to 10 in Southern California, but Moreno Valley, California is our first one.
Okay. And I think, well, I'll tell you what I think in terms of the future, but so you have this site, and the plan is to build 650 houses. And what other services are you going to offer on your site?
Yes. So it'll be apartments. It'll be studio, 1 and 2 bedroom.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that it's not houses like tract homes.
Okay, I got it. Yep.
And we would have a fairly large community center in there. So we would have events and classroom and education. A lot of the programs I want to, and each person is a little bit different. So if we have somebody that's coming in that maybe needs some college assistance, we would help them. Veterans that come in that want to continue their education, we could help them figure out what they're going to do, counsel them, transition them into the community, maybe getting them a job. I will be contracting out with a lot of manufacturers and businesses around town to also have them meet some of our goals into hiring as many veterans or unemployed community members as possible, putting everybody back to work. We want to make sure that any of the kids in the community stay on track, finish high school, maybe go to college. If they don't want to, maybe teaching them a trade. So vocational training would be available either on our site, if it's something that has to do with education, teaching them, or if it's hands-on, we will contract out with somebody to maybe on-the-job training for welding or electricians. some of the specialty trades. We
Wait, I'm
also
going to stop you
offer,
for 1 second, Nick. Does the VA pay for, will it pay for training and education when someone is a veteran?
yes, so different veterans are qualified for, of course, different levels of
Right.
training. Depending on if the veteran is disabled or not, if they have any type of Chapter 31s or educational benefits when they come out.
What's a
Some
Chapter
veterans,
31? Sorry.
Chapter 31 is one of the VA benefits that the military offers when soldiers are enrolled. Back in my day, we didn't have to, we had Chapter 30, I think, when we first came in, and we didn't have to put any money away during our service. When we got out, we it's like the GI Bill
Right.
that started, I
That's
believe,
what I was thinking. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So that's what they're chapters, because different soldiers, different eras have different benefits. So that there's numbers to each chapter of the GI Bill.
Okay. And so you can contract with technical colleges or technical trainers who are willing to do the training as part of the veteran program.
Yes,
That's
I know
pretty
a lot of,
cool.
absolutely. I know a lot of community college and universities around town. I know that they have veteran resource centers also. So I talk to them all the time. I went back not as an well, I'm a licensed contractor by the state of California too. I do construction, and so what I did is I went back and I got my construction management degree, and I used my benefits through the VA to get my vocational training, and I went and I got it, and they paid me. They paid my tuition. They have a benefit, monetary benefit, depending on your disability.
Right.
And they were able to train me, because as an infantry officer, I have leadership experience, but I really don't have a trade as an infantry officer, So I had to learn
You can
how.
tell people what to do, but what
Yes.
vocation you're going to tell them what to do? Well, you didn't have that.
So I wanted to learn a little bit more about construction, and I had the license and I could definitely work it, but the management part of it was really wonderful. So when I went back, although the VA was giving me the benefit, I really needed some guidance. So the Veteran Resource Center at the university helped me out so much, and they could help all the veterans, but sometimes they could be also overwhelmed. So we want to help them, we want to work with them, and we want to guide the veterans and their community to go to them directly. And any type of assistance we could work together, the more the merrier.
This is huge. This is such a huge project that you're doing, but I can just see how it's going to be such a benefit because, a community center, and I'm not dissing yours, but I'm saying a community center or a center for veterans is great. But what about getting them a job? And what about getting them trained to do a job? I mean, there's fellowship, but they need to figure out how they're going to live their life. And it sounds like at your site, you're going to offer what a veteran actually needs, and not from some, how can I say it, some viewpoint of what you think they might need. It's more from the viewpoint of what they need because you needed it and you got some of it, and maybe some of it you didn't get. And so you're going to figure out how to get them what they need.
Absolutely. Right now, we're facing some closure of some centers that help veterans because of COVID.
Right.
One local office is closed. So my daughter just got accepted to go to Cal State Long Beach. And, I want to make sure that she gets the college benefit that's entitled to my children because of my disability. And I can't go to that office, and they're sending me to a different office that's a little bit farther away, but I can't get anybody to call me back. So I have to find a way to work that system to be able to get my paperwork and to get her enrolled. I know I could do it, but it's going to take a little time and to find the right person to make sure that the paperwork is filed. If somebody like myself came to my office, now I would be able to help him because now I know exactly what needs to be done.
Right.
Frustration won't be there. And we're not saying come to me because I know for a fact I'm going to be able to help you 100%, but we're going to be able to guide them in the right direction, let them know what's available to them, a little bit more than what's already available to the soldiers in information. I can give you a book, but I would say 90% of the people just are not going to take the time to read that whole thick book about all the places they can go to, the websites, the links. It's difficult. It's
Mhm.
challenging for some of the people that might have a difficulty, especially if they have a disability. So we
Yep.
want to.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's why we're doing this podcast. They need help,
Yes.
and they may not even necessarily know what help they need, but that's another valid point and a valuable thing that you bring to the whole area, because you know what kind of help they need. Do you know? I
Yeah.
can only imagine that someone comes out of the military, especially if they've been injured in some way and they're disabled. What do I do now? Do you know? And they just need direction and help. I'm floored. I just think that what you're doing is huge. Now I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you expect that maybe some of them might be qualified to help with construction? You would hire them to be in your construction
So great question. And you're not putting me on the spot. We're already
Okay.
offering that. I mean, why send them somewhere else to get a job if we have a job for them, right?
Yeah.
So immediately once we get the rezoning on the property and we're moving forward with the construction, although we will have subcontractors, I will do exactly what the state does, is mandate a percentage of their workers to be veterans. So there's a disabled veteran business enterprise set aside for veteran-owned businesses. We also want to see labor and tradesmen and everybody involved. We try to hire as many veterans as possible. So I already belong to some organizations. We already have wonderful, success stories. So we could tell it. We're not just doing this and talking about it. We're actually doing it.
Right. And I think I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing. I know, some of it's a bit off in the future, but I know it's going to be huge, and you're going to change the lives of so many people. And my brother was lucky in that he was in a part of the Army where he was using computer skills, so he was able to continue doing that in civil service. My dad, I think, it was unfortunate. My dad was 32 years and he would have stayed in longer, but it was, you know how it works. He wasn't eligible for promotion and he'd been in whatever. So he had a friend, and he worked at a company for a while, but it was never really his thing. I don't think he was unhappy about it. And I think, he ended up doing well, but there are so many who don't have the resources, and maybe they went into the military without a college degree, and so now they're trying to figure out how to maneuver that. So Nick, if somebody is listening, and we hope lots of somebody's are going to be listening, and they wanted to take advantage of your program, how do they find you? Where do they go?
We're already helping people. So if you go to our website, which is www.vendavalcorp.com. And if you log on to our website, you can definitely contact us. We will respond and reply and try to help as much as we can before we even start the construction of the project. So I'm not going to wait till the project is up and going or constructed. We're going to start hopefully soon. And you said that in the future, I would hope that it's in the near future.
Yes.
So I'm hoping within months that we would be able to lease a property close to where the development is, so we could start the community center and fully operational. And when our community center is completed, all we have to do is just move doors. But
That's
yes, we want to start right away.
That's awesome. Nick, thank you so much. And I would ask that you please keep in touch with us, whether it's through Joto PR, your publicist, but just keep in touch with us so that we can share the good news when you actually break ground and, you're actually able to put your facility there, because it's hugely exciting. I'm so excited. I can't thank you enough for not only for what you're doing, but telling your story and sharing it with everybody. It's huge. It's
Well, thank you so
fabulous.
much. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to tell the story and to be able to spread the news. And I'm hoping that we can help a lot of people, and very, very soon.
I know you will. It's a given. When we're done with our interviews, we usually chat with the interviewee. And Nick was telling us that the military has really been in his blood. His grandfather was a World War I veteran. And he's just doing so many great things, not only with veterans, but also with kids. He's been doing a lot of work with kids and helping them get their GED. And he just has so many exciting things happening with his project that if you're only listening to this podcast, I strongly suggest that you go to YouTube and find our channel, which is the Why I Help podcast channel. And watch the video, because I'm going to put up some pictures. He's going to send me some pictures of what's happening with his whole facility, and it's huge. His corporation, again, the website, www.vendaval, V like Victor, E-N-D like David, A, V like Victor, A, L like Lawrence, Vendaval.com, www.vendaval.com. And his name is Nick Saifan. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you're liking the good news. We're going to keep sharing good news and people doing good things. And there you go. We'll talk to you again.